I've read many comments about the euro, that once Bulgaria switches from leva to euro, the prices will double overnight. But now it's finally 2026, the switch happened, and we can stop guessing and look at the real numbers. In this video, I will show you what we're actually now spending in 2026, living together with my husband in Sofia, and how much of those claims of prices doubling are true. What stayed the same, what changed, and how are we feeling here overall compared to previous year. Over the last year, I created an expat community with people relocating from the US, Canada, UK, EU countries, and even Asia. They are retirees, remote workers, families with children, and I can understand for people relocating right now, it's already stressful. There are so many things to think of, from bureaucracy to housing to just how are you gonna settle here with children. And now on top of that, we have that major switch and everyone's afraid of rising costs. And while some of the members of the community have never lived outside their country, there are others who've been living to Malta or Cyprus and now want to move to Bulgaria. And one of the reasons, of course, is the price to quality ratio, the quality of living that you can get here for lower cost. But if that quality of living that I've been talking to in almost every video here, if that quality does not match the price anymore, what then? So this video will break down the most recent costs of living step by step. And if you prefer reading, I have an article, check out the links in the description. If you're new to the channel, my name is Olga, and for the last 8 years I've been traveling and living in different countries in Europe and Asia, and in the last 5 years together with my husband Rene we've lived long-term in Antalya, Turkey, and in Da Nang, Vietnam. Now we are here in Bulgaria showing you the realities of living here and helping everyone who wants to make the same move. So let's start with the biggest part of the total budget, it's rent, and ta-da! Our rent didn't change throughout this last year. The price that we rented for in 2024 still remains the same now in 2026. For a 2-bedroom apartment, we pay €750 a month. It's a fully furnished apartment, and the best part, it's been fully renovated, and then only for 1 year a family before us lived in this apartment. Everything is clean, functional, and almost everything that we needed for our daily lives was already here when we moved in. We have air conditioning in every single room, including the kitchen, so that makes it it's 4 air conditioners in a 2-bedroom apartment. And we have a heating in every room as well. When we rented, that was the major factor for us. And to give you a realistic idea of the current market, for around 600 to 700 euros these days, you can rent a 1-bedroom, renovated or even new, close to the city center, with modern furniture. And for about 700 to 900 you can get a 2-bedroom in a similar condition. Of course, the spread is much wider, you can go much lower or much higher, but for what most of my clients usually want, this is the spread. However, there are important things to watch out for in the apartment aside from the location and the condition, and those things will be very important for your future residency permit application, because not every apartment will do. Even with a 1-year contract, you can still get rejected because of the wrong apartment. However, this is a video about cost of living, not about the housing, but I do cover housing in detail, including the conditions for residency permit in my relocation guide. Check out the link in the description. For the utilities, in the winter time, when there is central heating, we pay around €100 a month for it, and we pay about 25 for water and 25 for electricity. Those costs again did not change. So overall, our housing expenses remained the same as when we moved in 2024, which is a good sign for me, and that means that the rental market seems to be stabilizing after the previous years of quite sharp growth. And for someone who is looking for something on a higher end of spectrum, I can give you an example of our recent short Christmas trip to a hotel only 1 hour from Sofia. It's a spa hotel, and it's been recommended to us by Bulgarians. There are many pools, hot pools, cold pools. I think there are like 10 of them. and there are another 10 versions of different kind of sauna, and the breakfast and dinner were included. Rooms were very comfortable as well, so I can see why we were recommended that hotel, and we really needed that kind of relaxation by the end of last year. And now think about how much that kind of hotel would cost you in Western Europe or in big cities in US. But here in Sofia it was 150 euro a night right before Christmas, so it was their prime time. When you want to treat yourself, it is so much more affordable when you're living in Sofia, and I can testify that that hotel was a real treat. Our internet and mobile phone expenses also remained the same. We pay about 20 euro for a phone plan that includes calls, that includes unlimited data, and it is a 2-year contract. We are now finished with the old contract, and I'm already looking into renewals, and from what I see, these kind of plans remained relatively the same costs, maybe 1 or 2 euros more expensive. For Wi-Fi at home we pay 10 euros a month, and so far we had maybe, I don't know, 2, 3 or 4 times when something was off in the whole of almost 2 years. So I consider that quite stable and reliable. And we work from home almost all the time. Groceries are another significant part of expenses, and many people have been saying to me over time that groceries here in Bulgaria are almost the same as in Western Europe. I personally disagree. I think here it's still a bit lower, but prices are comparable. When I was checking our expenses in the last 2 months to give you the most recent data, I did notice that every trip to a big supermarket like Lidl, it's a big European chain, we end up spending about 50 to 60 euros for just one trip there. And we are 2 people, we don't host parties, we don't have children, so it's basically our expenses just on food, plus occasional small electric appliance or household items, basically everything that you can buy in a big supermarket. So it's not just the food alone. And when I looked at my previous video, what were the expenses, there a single trip would cost us less, but then I checked the total spending for the month and I saw that our spending remained relatively the same. So we are spending somewhere between 400 and 500 euros a month just on the groceries and household items together. Our going out part of the budget was surprisingly low. I even double checked it. It was only 100 euro in December and in November. The biggest reason for it is not because Sofia is so cheap, but mostly because our social life was not very active during those months. We were more focused on work. By my feeling, prices in restaurants do go up little by little. It's not much. I would say maybe 10 to 15% compared to 2024, but no drastic increases, no doubling the prices, nothing like that. It's not scientific research, so don't quote me on it. But this is my feeling of a person who lives in Sofia and goes to coffee shops and restaurants from time to time over the last almost 2 years. In fact, our fun part of the budget is spent mostly on traveling. It doesn't mean that Sofia doesn't have good places, it does, and we do have our favorite restaurants with reliable service and reliable quality of food. But we are also taking advantage of airport in Sofia being so accessible, and it's so easy to fly anywhere in Europe and you can get back within the same weekend. And that's actually one of the main reasons why we are living in Sofia and not in a city by the Black Sea like Varna or Burgas. We do still get restless from time to time and just want to go out, explore or have a weekend trip, and Sofia is perfect for that. Healthcare is an important part of the budget if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s or older, and your expenses can be very different, and it mainly depends if you're an EU citizen or non-EU citizen. For EU citizens, if you are paying social contributions every month, then you get access to Bulgarian free healthcare. You do need to pay something when you see a doctor, but it's so little, it's like under 10 euro. But if you're a non-EU citizen and you just moved, Unfortunately, the only insurance you can get is the emergency insurance. But the good news is that out-of-pocket healthcare is very affordable and you can get help really fast. For example, to see a specialist doctor, you need 50 euro for the first visit and 35 for the next one. To do a scan at the doctor's, you can do it for 40 euro, and many specialist doctors actually have that scanner in their room, so it can be done within the same visit. You do not need to wait in a queue for months and months and months. Even something like MRI scan you can do within the same week, and the prices start at 200 euro for one area. So this is yet another part of our budget that did not suddenly double. Our transportation costs are also very low, mostly because public transport is so easy, so affordable, clean, it's always on time, and we basically have no issues whatsoever. And one trip can cost you under 1 euro. Taxi is also quite affordable, although I do see a slight increase in tariffs. These days, a trip in the city center, 10 to 15 minute trip, would cost me about maybe 7 euro. And the trip from the airport to the city center, which is about 30 minutes, can cost you about 12 to 15. In smaller cities in Bulgaria, of course, there is no metro, and overall the public transport is not as good, and I must say intercity transport can be better, but that's another reason for us to choose Sofia as our home base. We did consider buying a car, but then we started weighing in pros and cons, the upkeep, the bureaucracy connected to actually buying that car, and I know many Bulgarians buy the car from Germany, and German cars in general are quite popular. I see a lot of brands like Mercedes and Audi here. But because we work from home and when we travel it's usually abroad, we decided that for now we're living in Sofia, we do not need a car, and then if we do decide to relocate closer to the seaside, then we might consider it. If you're bringing your car from abroad, I do have instructions for it in my guide, and in fact some of the group members are already bringing their cars. Remote workers are a big part of our expat group, and me and my husband, we are remote workers as well. If you prefer not to work from home, there are many co-working spaces in Sofia. I would say they are relatively pricey. It is 20 to 25 euro for a hot desk. My feeling is those co-working spaces target people who have a small business or need an office, either just to register themselves there or to actually have their team there. And if that's what you need, I can tell you that Sofia is your city. There are many offers available. Taxes are not strictly part of cost of living conversation, but I do think that they are an important part to consider when you're thinking about your future cost of living in Bulgaria. Yes, we have 10% tax here, both personal and corporate, and that's a very attractive, poster sign for everybody who wants to move abroad, especially when in your own country the taxes are 40-45%. But there is one thing to know, that apart from the 10% tax, there are also social contributions. And this percentage is already quite higher than 10%. But don't get turned away by it. Your effective tax rate still can be under 18%. What's the trick? The trick is where you are in life currently. If your income from your work, business or freelance, if that income is under 2,000 euro, if you're just in the beginning of your journey, then your effective tax rate will be higher than 30%. But if you are already further along in your journey and your income is 3, 4, 5,000 euro a month or even higher, then Bulgaria will be really tax effective, because the social contributions have a cap. Once your income is over a certain amount, you are not going to pay more than 500 euros in social contributions. I'm not going to bore you here with how it is calculated. I have it in my guide. But, for example, if you have 5,000 euro a month income, your effective tax rate is 18%. So 18% of your income you're giving away, and the rest you get to keep. I have a recent success story to inspire you that was really amazing actually when it happened. One of my clients, who is working via a payroll company, after just one conversation with my accountant, he was able to save 12,000 euros in a year. So knowing your options when it comes to taxation is crucial for you if you want to make good savings while also having a good quality of life in Bulgaria. Another big part of my expat group are retirees. And I have a very good news for you is that your pensions here are not taxed. So for you, having a pension of 2,000 to 3,000 euros per month will make a very comfortable life. If you prefer to live in a smaller town in Bulgaria, your budget will be even lower. And before I share our total expenses for the month, I want to mention something that you get in Bulgaria for free, and that's a different lifestyle. I know many people, especially when you're in your 30s, 40s or older, we are all overstimulated and stressed by all the global events, and all the media is bombarding us with news every single day. We are all in search of a place to live where we can just relax, don't worry too much about the costs, don't worry about our safety, and still have an enjoyable life. And personally for me, living in Bulgaria, I do get all of that. There are two major factors. I think the first factor is the society itself. I feel that overall here it's quite relaxed. I don't feel so much tension as, for example, in Germany, where just the society rules are stricter and you're afraid to make a mistake and be in someone's way. Last year we did a 3-week travel to Japan, and we absolutely loved the country and we want to return and see more of it. But I did feel that society overall, everyone is polite, everybody's smiling, everybody's willing to help, and I believe it is genuine. But I felt like this is what's expected of me, that I always have to be friendly with everyone, even if I'm having a bad day, that I have to know all the rules that society is living by and to not break any of them at any point. It does make for a comfortable living if everything is very orderly, but it also weighs on you psychologically. You want just a bit more wiggle room in how you can behave in a society. And I believe that Bulgaria is somewhere in between the East and West. I do feel relatively relaxed, but still society does have rules and people are polite towards each other. Maybe there is less smiling or less chit-chat. Don't get me wrong, there is smiling, and I find that many Bulgarians are very friendly and are smiling at me. But it feels like there is no requirement to be super positive all the time. If you get what I mean, please leave a comment below. I really sometimes feel like I want to have a conversation about it, and I don't know if it's worth it to make a separate video about it. And the second part that gives me a feeling of peace in Bulgaria is the feeling of actual physical safety. When I go out alone on the street, even if it's evening, I am not afraid. I do not watch over my shoulder all the time. I do not clench my bag. I'm not afraid for my personal belongings all the time. I wouldn't say it's like Japan, where you can leave your phone on a table in a coffee shop and just walk away and return after an hour, it's still there. No, it's not like that. You still need to watch for your personal belongings when in a public space. Basically, you need to use your common sense. But there is no constant underlying feeling of fear when you're outside. You go to a shopping mall or to a crowded place and you're not afraid that there will be some crazy person threatening everyone. I talked to my husband. He said that for him it also feels much safer than in many European capitals. And some of my friends from the US, they also say they feel much safer. So now that you've seen every category of spending, and so far most of them stayed almost the same as the previous year, I can truly say that as of the beginning of 2026, prices did not double. I do not see any sharp increase in total cost of living. So of course those costs do not include our travel expenses and healthcare expenses. So overall we are spending probably about 2,500 to 3,000 monthly living together with no children and no pets. And in my opinion, cost of living to quality of living ratio in Bulgaria is quite high. And in our expat group we have people who are relocating from places like Cyprus and Malta Malta, who's been long loved by remote workers and retirees alike for the lifestyle. But after living there for years, they say that the quality of living is not improving while the prices grow year by year. So if you're also in that situation where you're looking for a good place to live in Europe with low tax rate, I say give Bulgaria a chance. And if you're weighing in your pros and cons of relocating to Bulgaria, this video will be like talking to an old friend who's been living in Bulgaria and will hold nothing back.